outside radicalization program.
Yeah.
And obviously it hasn't worked. In fact, he killed one of the course instructors.
He went to
didn't
the
he?
course.
He killed the course. No, they are on the course, and he killed the course instructor.
Yeah.
So whatever they're doing, the program doesn't seem to be working. I mean, they need to have a very other. Just like if you heard of Prevent, how the Prevent system is totally it's not evidence based. Secondly, and it's not going to work, and it doesn't work. So if you want to stop people from committing crimes, acts of terrorism, then have a proper evidence-based, system framework in which people can be dealt with if they're planning to do such atrocities.
Yes.
And with the proper hands of the law, they're punished properly. And also look into the reasons why some people are being radicalized to, kill innocent people. What's their grievance?
And they sort of get it all online.
Yeah. I mean, are these people, are these extremists going there killing people because they don't like McDonald's burgers or something? They have some grievance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where is the grievance coming from? Is it the foreign policy?
Yeah.
Is it what they're doing to the Muslim people everywhere else? So it is not just a small piece,
You think
it's a big chunk where people are missing from the picture of the jigsaw, and they're just only isolating, these people are radicalized because of, they don't like our way of life. Or actually, how can you say that? Because those criminals, these extremists, they're actually living your way of life already. They go to pubs, they go to nightclubs, they don't do Islamic practice of their religion. They don't practice Islam, so they have already taken a Western lifestyle. So it's not that they don't like your lifestyle; they're actually practicing your own lifestyle themselves.
So would you
something
say that
else.
They're not Muslim?
They say they're Muslims, but of course they're very bad ones.
Yeah.
Okay, just because you're a Muslim doesn't automatically make you immune from doing bad things, unless you have a very good ideals of faith and practice based on that faith. You have to make sure that you practice what you preach. If Islam says, as it does, be just, and these people commit injustices everywhere, then what is your faith in the first place? So I think the West and the East, across the globe, people need to say, look, extremism is a problem, whether it's done by religious nutcases or secular nutcases. Okay, we have to really say, look, how do we mutually live in this world, mutually in harmony, in some kind of understanding of our differences, and having that tolerance. Because if you believe in Christianity, that's your faith. Why am I going to say no? I have to force you to become something other than what you don't want to be. It's your own choice. We can reason with each other, and we can say, look, the truth is what we think this is it. It's up to you then what you choose. Yeah. So personally, I think people at large, they have been deceived by the elites, by the governments and so on, of not to understand the real causes of the problems. One of the main reasons why criminals are committing crime, it's not because they're addicted to crime or they like crimes. They're doing it for some reasons that led them to do the crime. When a rapist rapes, why do a rapist rape? Why? There has to be a reason why he's actually taking, he's taking the liberty of people away and forces on someone his wishes unjustly. We need to understand the reasons, this mentality of these criminals. Likewise, when people go and loot a country or totally subjugate a country and overpower them, they go and become the aggressors and overtake those countries, okay?
So
by force.
Terrorism is like a reaction from imperialism.
Every kind of these kind of wrongs, they need to be looked at. Why only take an isolated case of one individual to individuals when bigger crimes are committed? We have to address the bigger issues at the same time and say, is it because people are very much frustrated, they have grievances and they're taking their laws in their own hands? But that's not a justification for saying, oh, what can we do? Criminals are criminals and they need to be dealt with properly. But why are we allowing these criminals to even be generated in our societies? To be somehow, sprout within the societies. We are feeding some people, the governments, our systems of
But a lot of them are kind
societies.
of loners, no? Like they get this stuff online, and But
Radicalization,
on both sides,
radicalization doesn't happen just like they have a dream and God tells them their dream, go and do that.
But
They
feel-
are influenced by people.
Yeah.
They're influenced by what they see. So why are they influenced like this?
Yeah, online, like the dark web type thing. They're on both sides, like
So-
the Muslim ISIS thing, but also the white nationalists in America. They go
Everywhere.
crazy. They feel that because maybe they hate themselves because their life is sad and lonely and they haven't got.
Is it actually? I don't think this is the case. They don't think they're sad and lonely. I mean, they have good life. Some of them are just married and have kids. Who
What do
on
they do?
earth will leave their newly, they just got married and they have children, young
Yeah.
children,
Who did-
and they go blow themselves up? Come on, that's not
why
a
do
normal
they
thing
do
to do.
Yeah.
It must be something really serious that has made them gone crazy, wild, and unhuman. It's dehumanized them in a way.
Yeah, like the 7/7 one. They had PhDs and they seem quite normal, no?
So people need to wake up and say, look, we need to address the root cause. In everywhere else, we do root cause analysis, RCAs, of any problems that happens. If a plane were to have an accident, we don't say, oh, it's the fault of the pilot or fault of the engine. We try to find out the root cause of it. Is there a system failure or a human involvement?
So what do you think is the root cause?
That's what we're trying to say. We need
But
to
is
all
it
work
from
together,
the West?
root cause, and in fact, proper academic studies have been done to identify the root causes, but people are not listening to it. They're taking a totally different narrative, a political narrative that somehow, is in line with a particular elite. Yeah, that's the problem. If you don't want the truth and you go for your ideological, political motives, material motives, then you're not going to solve the problem. The problem is not going to go
Truth
away.
It's very hard. It's hard to understand, and a lot of people just want to live their life and have a simple life. So they just believe what they're told in the
Yeah, but
newspapers.
we're talking about people who are in power, in governments. In governments. How many false flags have we seen the governments are involved in? How many? If the governments themselves are part of the problem, many, then how do you expect people to have any trust in their governments? Yeah? There has to be this accountability. So that's why if you think about now Islam, that we want to say, look, if you think about Islam, leadership is such grievous duty that it's not something that one should want, but it should be given to people or person who is well deserving and capable of. So if somebody says, I want to be the leader of the government, then okay, he's in some kind of greed that he has, or she, whatever that might be. If you go back and look at Islamic civilization history, when we had leaders of the Muslim lands, they went in disguise at night time. And they went to see how the common people were living. What were their complaints? What were the complaints? What were the people saying all these things? When Umar bin al-Khattab was going to take over Jerusalem, the keys to Jerusalem to be handed over to him, because Muslims have conquered Jerusalem. Do you know how he went there? Did he went with this luxurious army of people and all this, artillery and the military and so on? No, he had one companion with him, who was the servant, to undertake it, and one mount, whether it was a horse or a camel. This is a vehicle of transport at that time. One. And do you know how they traveled? They chose between themselves to ride the animal in turns. So the servant will go up, and the leader of the world, Muslim world at that time, we're talking about the early Islamic history. Umar bin Khattab. And he would be taking the rope of that animal and walking alongside with it. And while his servant is on the mount. When he reached Jerusalem, it happened to be the turn of his servant to be on the mount. Now, what would a normal, this is what you expect, leader of a country would do? He says, oh, get down now, you know, because now, you know, I need to present myself as the king, as the prime minister, as the, you know, the leader of the nation. We didn't do that. He says, no, it's your turn, you carry on. And they came to the delegation, and the people who were about to hand over the keys, they were addressing the person on the mount. Oh, leader of the Muslims. And he was saying, no, the person you want to speak to, that's him. That is what we call the understanding of justice system, and where you don't somehow, you know, present yourself like I am the king of the world and that's it. He could have easily done that.
Yeah, but isn't that like, you know, Boris, he goes to the pub or to the schools and like tries to mingle with the people now? Or when a leader does that now? Isn't that like similar?
But which leader do you see? They go in disguise to find out from the common people.
But they can't do that anymore.
Common people on the street and find out what the worries are. We know, even without doing them, how corrupt some of them are, right? They're all power hungry, material hungry, they're greedy.
But does the power not corrupt them? Maybe. Like,
so why did the power not corrupt our early Muslim leaders?
I'm sure they were corrupting some.
No. Eventually, at one point, when they became very greedy, and that's why Islamic civilization, in terms of its political entity, collapsed at one point, because they were not involved with implementing justice in the lands. They were not involved in looking after the people. They were looking after themselves in their harems. You know, if you heard of their harems? That's what they're doing, wine and women and all of that thing. They corrupted the people and people corrupted them. But in Islam, Islam says, no, you need to look after everyone. So we have a system in which you probably realize, even if you're rich, did you know that the poor people have a right over our wealth? They have a right over our wealth, even if we are rich. We have to give 2.5% of our surplus wealth to the needy. It belongs to them. They have the right. It belongs to them. We are obligated to provide this amount of money. And the state will, of course, collect that and distribute it to the poor and the needy. So, if you think about it, it's not just because we are rich. We have to give this money to look after the poor people, because they have a right on our wealth. Our Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Prophet Muhammad, he said, you are not a believer. You are not a believer. You are not a believer when you go fully fed in your stomach while your neighbor is dying of starvation. He is linking that even that you don't have a believer. You're not even a believer. Like you don't even have this Islamic belief while your neighbor is dying of starvation and you're fully fed and you're not even looking after them. Yeah? So we have a responsibility even to our neighbors, doesn't matter who they are, whether they're religious or otherwise, or no religion. We have to look after them. So coming back to these issues, yes, atrocities are happening and we are not looking at the bigger picture. Criminals are committing crimes and we are only saying, oh, you know, how did we let these criminals loose? The system is to be reviewed altogether. Why are criminals coming up so early from their punishment system, and then they're committing crimes again? What are they doing in the prisons? Are they colluding with each other to commit a bigger crime? Is that what it's doing? Because the punishment should be in such a way to deter the criminals from committing crimes. To give you an example, if someone kills a person and the penalty was $20, do you think it's going to stop people from being murdered and killed?
And that was the penalty.
If that was the penalty, it's not. Why? Because the punishment is only $20. If a bad person has $40 in his pocket, he'll say, I can get away with 2 murders easily. He's not going to stop them, is he? Yeah. But if the penalty is very severe, that your life will be taken away, in return, if you were found guilty, then that criminal will think twice. So our punishment system in many countries is actually something that needs to be reviewed again. I mean, it's not stopping the crime.
Death penalty, you want.
I'm saying punishment system needs to be severe punishment. In Islam, it provides a framework for people to nurture themselves and grow and become good citizens of the country. So you don't need to steal, you don't need to do these things, crime. And if you do, having all that mechanisms in place, there will be severe punishment. So there are capital punishment, a handful of capital punishments, which are very severe, death penalty. So that the people in the society can live in peace and without fear. Because if a punishment of highway robbery, so you know what highway robbery is? Someone in daylight comes along and kills everyone, does all these things, bad things, raping and butchering and slaughtering, and then goes away, and then police can't say anything. They're just there and they can't do anything. Do you think this is going to instill peace in the people, in the hearts?
We used to kill people many years ago, but we progressed from that.
Yeah, but if you think about it, these crimes, if they take place without criminals being punished properly, the people in the society, they are not going to feel safe. You not feel safe to come out in the streets, outside from your homes. So in Islam, there are certain crimes against the society, like this, is very severe punishment to make sure the society thrives without any fear. So Islamic legal system is actually, if you think about it, is somehow intrinsically linked with the education system, the economic system, the social system. All the systems there work together. That is why you would expect that people don't need to fall victims of being the criminal. There's no need. For example, why would someone need to steal when everything is provided? If everything is provided, why would you need to steal? Why would you need to steal bread?